You were born in a rough Brooklyn neighborhood, where factories roared and smoke filled the air. Your father labored tirelessly, and the streets became your first classroom. You learned quickly which allies could be trusted, which corners hid danger, and that survival depended on wit, not strength alone. As a teenager, you became skilled at taking what you needed without being caught. Every stolen apple, every narrow escape, every glance over your shoulder sharpened your senses. The streets taught you patience, observation, and cunning, lessons that would define the rest of your life. One evening in a smoky speakeasy, you met older men who quietly controlled power in the city. They noticed your courage and cleverness. Every word they spoke, every subtle glance was a test, and you passed. From that night, the hidden world of influence and danger became your reality. Your adolescence turned into a high-stakes game, where each decision could mean survival or death. You observed, adapted, and learned the rules of power. Soon you were no longer just surviving. You were calculating, planning, becoming someone who others would fear and respect. You became a partner in an underground casino, where smoke hung thick in the air, cards shuffled, and money changed hands with tense intensity. Every bet carried risk. Every glance could be a threat. Here, the weak fell fast, and only those with cunning, courage, and sharp instincts could rise to the top. But power has a price. Friends turned into rivals, enemies became shadows that followed your every step. You learned to read people like open books, to see lies before they were spoken, and to act decisively before others realized the danger. This was your world, and you would survive it at any cost. Your first hit changed everything. You were no longer a boy learning the streets, you were a man whose hands carried consequence. Fear and respect followed you, and every new move was watched carefully by both friends and enemies alike. The city whispered secrets in every corner, and you learned to listen. The people you trusted could betray you, and the smallest mistake could end your life. Every day was a test, and you thrived where others would fall. You rose in influence, taking control of more territory, more businesses, and more hidden wealth. People began to fear your name, whispering it in dark alleys and smoky speakeasies, knowing that power and danger walked hand in hand with you. Every victory brought enemies. Every ally could turn on you. You learned to stay one step ahead, always planning, always observing. In this game, the sharpest mind and the coldest heart survived. Luxury came with its own shadows. Parties in grand speakeasies, jazz music, champagne flowing, yet behind every laugh, every toast, was the threat of betrayal. Pleasure and danger existed side by side in your world. Luxury surrounded you, but it was never simple. Grand parties in smoky speakeasies, jazz music filling the room, champagne flowing endlessly, yet behind every laugh and toast, shadows whispered secrets. You learned to enjoy the pleasures of power while keeping your guard up at all times. With every victory, the stakes grew higher. Rival businesses, cunning competitors, and subtle betrayals tested your mind as much as your nerve. Every handshake, every smile could hide hidden threats. You learned to move carefully, always planning 2 steps ahead in a city that never sleeps. Your influence stretched across districts, and people whispered your name in both fear and respect. You understood that power was fragile. It could vanish in a single night if you made a mistake. So you watched, analyzed, and acted with precision, every move a calculated step in your rise. Even in moments of triumph, danger lurked nearby. Friends might betray you for a bigger cut, and strangers might challenge you without warning. You learned that survival depended not only on courage but also on reading the hidden intentions behind every gesture and word. Luxury surrounded you, but it was never simple. Grand parties in smoky speakeasies, jazz music filling the room, champagne flowing endlessly, and laughter echoing in dim corners, yet behind every toast and every sparkling glance, shadows whispered secrets. You learned quickly to enjoy the pleasures of power while never lowering your guard, knowing that in a single moment, everything could be taken away. With every victory, the stakes grew higher and the city itself seemed alive with hidden threats. Rival businesses, cunning competitors, and subtle betrayals tested your mind as much as your nerve. Every handshake, every smile could mask danger, and you learned to notice the tiniest hints, a flicker in the eye, a stiff posture, a pause too long, before acting decisively. Your influence spread across districts, and whispers of your name traveled faster than the city lights. People feared you, respected you, and some envied you. You understood that power was fragile and that even one careless decision could unravel everything you built. Every night, you reviewed your plans, every morning you observed the streets, always calculating, always watching. Even in moments of triumph, danger was never far. Friends might betray you for a bigger cut, strangers could challenge you without warning, and every corner hid uncertainty. You realized that survival depended not only on courage and skill but on your ability to read intentions, predict moves and stay 2 steps ahead. The city tested you at every turn, and you thrived where others would fall. Your reputation grew with every calculated move, and whispers of your influence spread through the city like wildfire. The streets seemed to bend to your presence. People watched quietly, uncertain whether to fear, respect, or admire you. You understood that visibility was a weapon, and the way others perceived you could be as powerful as any action you took. Even as you gained power, solitude became your companion. Nights were spent pacing empty rooms, planning your next moves, and listening for the slightest shift in the city's rhythm. You realized that in this life, trust was rare, and caution was the key to staying alive. Every decision carried weight, every word could tip the balance. The seasons changed, and with them the city evolved, but your influence remained steady. You adapted to new threats, shifting alliances, and the constant hum of tension in the streets. Every street corner, every smoky speakeasy, became a chessboard where you moved carefully, predicting outcomes before others even noticed the game. Your wealth and status grew alongside the power you wielded. Luxurious cars, fine clothes, and exclusive gatherings were now part of your life. Yet you never let comfort dull your senses because you knew that beneath the glamour, the city remained unpredictable, and danger was always just a step behind. Rivalries became sharper, and small mistakes could now have monumental consequences. You honed your instincts, noticing subtleties in posture, tone, and gaze that revealed more than words ever could. With each passing day, you became more than a participant in the city's hidden games. You became a master of them. Your life was a careful balance between influence and vigilance. Friends, allies, and strangers alike were threads in a web you constantly adjusted. You learned that every encounter, every conversation, could tip the scales, and only those who observed and acted with precision could truly survive in a world built on hidden power and shifting loyalties. Years passed, and the city transformed around you. Skyscrapers reached higher, cars filled the streets, and neon lights began to glow at night. Yet despite all this change, you remained a shadow in the alleys, an observer of the city's heartbeat, always anticipating the next move, the next shift in power. Your empire had grown, but with growth came complexity. Each decision had ripples, affecting people you barely knew. You had to balance ambition with caution, power with perception, and every choice became a careful calculation that could mean success or failure. Even in moments of comfort, you remained vigilant. The sound of footsteps in empty hallways, whispers behind closed doors, or a sudden shift in the city's rhythm reminded you that power could never be taken for granted. You learned to enjoy luxury while keeping your senses sharp. Time passed, and you began to reflect on the life you had built. From a boy running through Brooklyn alleys to a figure whose name carried weight across the city, you understood the cost of every decision, the weight of every action, and the delicate balance of respect and fear. Friends and allies had come and gone, some staying loyal, others fading into the shadows. You had learned that relationships were as fragile as glass, beautiful, valuable, but able to shatter at the slightest pressure. Trust was earned, not given. Your final years were marked by contemplation and control. The city had changed, the people had changed, but your influence remained. You understood that legacy is not measured in wealth or power alone, but in the respect and fear that your actions inspired over time. You often recalled the first lessons learned in Brooklyn alleys: patience, observation, and cunning. They had guided you through a lifetime of challenges and shaped the person you had become. Every choice, every calculated move, had been a step along the path you now walked with mastery. Eventually, the time came to leave the city in your own way, on your own terms. You had survived countless challenges, outsmarted rivals, and built a life that few could imagine. In your final moments, you could reflect not with regret, but with the satisfaction of a life fully lived. And as the city continued to breathe around you, your story became part of its legend. A tale of ambition, survival, and the quiet power of one who walked its streets with skill, patience, and vision.